It's 7 p.m., so we're going to call the meeting of the Finance Committee to order on April 2nd, 2025. Mr. Clerk, would you please call the roll?
Alderman Thibodeau?
Here.
Alderman Gove is here. Alderman Moran?
Here.
Alderwoman Timmons?
Here.
Alderman Clemens?
Here.
Alderman Klee? Mayor Donches?
Here. The next item is public comment. Is there any member of the public who wishes to address the Finance Committee? I don't see anyone. Communications, first being from Amy Gerard, Purchasing Manager, Alderman Gobea.
In regard to purchase of 2 Ford Transit EV vans in the amount of $136,966, funded from SURF 81 Capital Outlay Improvements, I'm going to make a motion to accept, place on file, and approve the purchase of 2 2025 Ford Transit electric vehicles from Grappone Ford in the amount of $136,966. That's $68,483 each. Funding will be through Department 191 School Department Funds, SURF 81 Capital Outlay and Improvements.
Okay. Is there anyone here to talk about this? Well, come on up. Mr. Smith. I didn't see you back there.
This is safer to be here tonight than the other place.
No wonder you're here then. Yes.
Well, as motion, I'm Sean Smith, Plant Operations Director for the school district. As the motion indicates, we're replacing 2 cargo vans. One's 2003, the other one's 2008. I think you could buy antique license plates for anything over 20 years. Is that true still? Because I did that once. So one of these could be an antique. But they're both very old. We've added service life, a lot of rust and whatnot. So looking to replace them with brand new vehicles. You'll notice one of these was a SURF fiscal year 23. And that was right at the end of code, of course, and we couldn't get a bid from anybody if we tried. Then last summer, I believe the city decided to go towards, or push more towards alternate fuel vehicles. So I was about ready to come forward last summer with the gas-powered vehicles, but then the new guidance came out. So we did get a couple quotes, both electric. The analysis was done, and it does make sense. The payback is fairly short, and we can install these ourselves. Ford gives us the actual plug-in unit, and then we have master electricians that can do the rest of the work.
Great. All right, any questions, comments from anyone? Alderman Gobea.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. So I am kind of struggling with this purchase. I understand we need 2 new vans, but I think what I'm looking at is the communication we got from Treasurer Tax Collector Enright, and we're looking at how much more this is costing now, and this one, the electric vehicle is greater than 60% of the cost approved in the FY 2023 budget for the gas equivalent. And I mean, looking at what we need to do and where we're at now, is there any way we could replace just one of these, or do we have to do both of them right now?
The 2023 is, we definitely got to replace that. Can't even lock the door if you're the driver, you can hold it. And we don't do that, but it's about where that is. Mm-hmm. We could hold off for another year on the other one. I mean, it's already, so 2008, it's already 17 years old now. I keep my cars around for a long time. I have an F-150, it's now its 15th year. I believe the school department squeezes every last bit they can out of our vehicles. We could push it back a year. It's time for the other one too.
Okay, follow up on that. So how often are these vans used in the typical school year?
Daily. So each of these vans is used by 8 tradesmen. I've got 20 tradesmen working for me.
Okay.
Each one of them has a van. Occasionally they go out to a work site together, but usually they have their own van, just so we can spread our manpower more. So how many work days that are in a year? 270, something like that? They're out there.
So it's regular use then?
Yes.
Okay. That's all for now. Thank you.
Alderman Clemens.
Yeah, I'm normally would be on the skeptical side myself. However, our fantastic president was on the TV tonight talking about how he's going to implement tariffs from some countries up to 50%. So we need to get this purchase in now because it's going to be a heck of a lot more expensive for Nashua taxpayers if we don't do it now.
Alderwoman Timmons.
Well, thank you, Mayor. Thank you, my colleague over there at large. I was going to say the exact same thing. If we don't do this now, we may not be able to do it in a year. So that's my concern is that we need to strike now or we won't be able to strike and we need that vehicle.
Alderman Moran.
I would say it's, all of my colleagues have made a good point with the 60% up over 2023, the anticipating tariffs. Midnight tonight? It's Liberation Day. We'll pay more money for things, I guess. My worry is paying for things where the school district may cut 70 jobs, staff over cars, but we'll see. I don't know where I'm going to vote in the next couple seconds, so thank you.
Now, this does come out of the SURF money, not out of the school budget.
I know that, but
What's your payback analysis? You mentioned that at the
It was
beginning.
fair, let's see if I might have it with me. Bear with me for a second. Just tell you what it is. There's only like a $2,000 difference between gas power and electric, which I found kind of stunning, actually. I want to say it was very short, like a year and a half, something like that.
All right, Alderman Moran.
I would say I'm willing to support it because of the age of the vehicles and the impending cost that's going to be downshifted to us as a city.
I do have one more.
Alderman Govea.
Okay, so I'm all set. Call a vote.
Alderman Thibodeau.
I do have a question. I've asked before when somebody came in with a quote for a replacement vehicle, and I guess this is more, this might be general questions or to you. If you help with the budgeting portion, I don't know if you do, how were these incorporated into the budget? Because the answer I got from the other person who was looking for a vehicle replacement is, it's the cost, it's the replacement cost of the vehicle, not necessarily a fresh quote. And I'm curious as to why a fresh quote is not gathered at the time of budget season. So we're not talking about the replacement cost, may not have been 60% higher than planned, might be a little bit more, I'm assuming things go up every year, obviously, but it may not have been 60% greater. So I'm just curious why that doesn't happen. And if you're involved in that, you can speak to yourself specifically, that's fine. And if not, then that's fine also.
No, I am involved in that. You're talking about the development of the SURF budget. Yeah, every department, so the city maintains a SURF listing. It's all on the spreadsheet, different page for every department. We give our input into the tax collector. I'm not sure if that's where it goes through right now. But and then the list is updated. Then when your vehicle is up for replacement, every department makes its own estimate on how long a vehicle will last. So cargo van, I may say 12 years. Police, they probably have a shorter shelf life of their vehicles. So that is then put in the spreadsheet, and you're absolutely right. The amount that goes forward for the budget in the fiscal year you're in is based upon a multiplication, I think 5% a year. So my vehicle that was, you may see in FY '26, our request is replace a sedan. It's a Malibu. It's been multiplied by 5%. The spreadsheet was carrying $76,000 to replace that. Chevrolet is phasing them out. But if you get a Ford Echo or something like that, it's going to be less than $40,000, not $76,000. And you can get an electric vehicle for something in the 30s. So I think we need to fix that a little bit, and we are relying on what's in the budget that was developed over time. But we are, I'll give them a little bit of due, we are asked, do you think these numbers are still correct? So I just went through that, today in fact, I went through that exercise with the place in the sedans. We don't need that much money, let's lower it. Did that answer your question? I don't.
Yep, no, thank you.
Alderman Govea.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. So I guess when we talk about savings on between the electric and the gas vehicles, one thing I kind of get caught up on is we have savings and it's savings to the city, but that doesn't necessarily reflect in the SURF fund. The SURF fund doesn't see those savings. I mean, our general fund might, but we don't see that, so it's still gonna throw the SURF numbers off. We don't move that money we're saving into SURF, which I think in the long run, if we keep going and we're looking at something here that's 60% more of not putting that savings back in the SURF, we're gonna run ourselves into a deficit. And I don't think that's stable to really look at this and go, well, we're gonna have savings on this car, but our SURF account's not gonna see those savings.
All right, let me clarify something. So there's the issue of 60% and there's the issue of $2,000. So I think what you've said is that the vehicle is 60% more than the number in the SURF schedule,
Right.
but that it's $2,000 more than the equivalent gas vehicle. So the savings you're talking about is between it has to do with that $2,000, not the
Yes,
six,
that's
not the 60.
Correct,
Correct.
yes.
Maybe we should be, we do have Ms. Gerard here, but maybe we should be re-researching the vehicles that are listed periodically so that we have a realistic cost like Mr. Smith is. And I don't really expect you to answer this right now, but Mr. Smith is talking about a situation here where the vehicle is far more than in the SURF schedule, but he's also talking about in another situation coming up, next year, when it's far less than is in the SURF schedule. So we have unrealistic numbers on both directions, actually. Probably more often, the real number is more than the SURF schedule, but sometimes it's less. So maybe we should research, try to update these estimates rather than just use a mathematical escalator that may or may not reflect reality.
More if I can.
Yeah.
So you said in your SURF ask next year, it will be less than what you would expect through this year?
For those two vehicles, so yeah, FY '26, we're asking for 2 sedan replacements, a new sidewalk machine, and one other vehicle, which today I said they can hold off for a year. So we've pushed back one purchase already this coming year. But yeah, 2 of the 3 were already below what was in the carried forward number in SURF.
One more.
Yeah.
And do you feel that it will kind of be net neutral between the two? With how much less you're spending next year to how much more you're spending this year? Does that even out, or where are we at the end of the day? Are we overspending or underspending?
I would, if you take the 2-year, I'd say we're pretty close.
Okay.
Because those vehicles that, they're $70,000 and $75,000. I just went online today and looked, and the electric vehicle, keep in mind those were gas-powered, electric is less than $40,000.
Okay.
So that's higher math now. So you're 30,000 plus 35,000, so
In the ballpark.
$65,000
Yep.
is less in next year's SURF. That sounds about like where we are now as far as being above this year's request.
Alderman Clemmons.
Yeah, I appreciate the conversation here. And in normal times, I would say that it's probably a valuable conversation. I think, however, it's not a valuable conversation because we don't know the prices of cars, what the price of a car is going to be a year from now. My guess is it's probably going to be somewhere between 15 to 20% higher than what it is now. So that's the reality of what we're facing, because we have a president who doesn't understand economics and is applying tariffs to things that are going to come down to the city level and have an effect on what we can do. So we can plan ahead as if the economy is going to chug along like it always has. But I'm telling you right now that if the things that he is planning stay in effect, the prices of everything are going to escalate beyond what if you thought inflation was bad in 2022, it's going to be way worse. So I value the conversation, but I really don't think we know where this is going.
Anyone? All right, well, the motion is to approve. All those in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Nay.
Motion passes. Next item is a communication from Amy Gerard, Purchasing Manager, Alderman Govea.
In regard to amendment number 1 for the CAMA software implementations in the amount of $30,000 funded from General Fund 53 Professional and Technical Services, I'm going to make a motion to accept, place on file, and approve amendment number 1 for the CAMA software implementation contract with Vision Government Solutions in the amount of $30,000. Funding will be through Department 106 Administrative Services, Fund General Fund 53 Professional and Technical Services.
Hi, Michelle Welsh, the assessing manager. How is everybody tonight? So what we're asking for is an additional $30,000, and it really came down to the staffing that we didn't have, and so we couldn't actually execute the actual existing contract in a timely manner, and the increase was $30,000.
All right, any questions, comments? All those in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
Motion passes. Thank you.
Thank you.
Next communication from Amy Gerard, Purchasing Manager, Alderman Govea.
In regard to contract for professional services for an HR audit in the amount not to exceed $100,000, funded from General Fund 53 Professional and Technical Services, make a motion to accept, place on file, and award a contract for professional services related to the human resource audit to review policies, practices, and procedures and protocols with Barclay in the amount not to exceed $100,000. Funding will be through Department 111 Human Resource Administration, Fund General Fund 53 Professional and Technical Services.
Yes.
Hi, I'm Nancy Trask. I'm the Human Resources Manager. So we're, as the memo pointed out, we're looking to contract with Baker Tilly, which is our auditing CPA firm, to review our practices, our policies, our complex structure, and do a review and audit and help us identify if there are any gaps, provide some best practices for our organization, and give us a plan if we need to implement any improvements if they're deemed necessary. We got an overwhelming number of RFPs. We had 19, and we interviewed 5, and we selected Baker Tilly. And what questions I can answer for you?
Alderwoman Timmons.
Thank you, Mayor. I have one question. Does this include lien management in the process of surveying all this? You're not considering cutting anybody just through lien management after you go through all your policies and all the things that you
Right,
need to
this
do?
is strictly to look at the policies that we have in place. We need to update update our policies, so this will help us do this roadmap for that. So this is our procedures, our policies. They're gonna look at our hiring practice, our hiring process. As you know, we hire a lot of people in the summer. But they're gonna look at, let me see, I'll give you a list of the scope. So most of our, making sure that we're doing our they'll be double checking our compliance because we do a lot of compliance. We're in pretty good shape, but they'll be helping make sure that we're benchmarked, that we're doing it the best way possible, the most efficient way possible. They'll be looking at how we compare to other places to make sure that we're comparable, comparable to other municipalities. They'll look at our staffing and make sure that we're efficient with our staffing. There's 2 of us in the HR department now that focus on the HR administration. Find out what's the best way to staff us and divide the work. Also, we have, as I said, we have a complex sort of system. We interact with other groups that do some things, so we want to make sure that we're consistent and that we've got a good structure in place. So we'll be looking at efficiency and effectiveness.
Okay, follow up?
Yeah.
So that is lean management. Because lean management do exactly the same thing, and then they take care of duplicate services and stuff like that, and then they will combine what they can combine, and then lay off the ones that is duplication of services. That's lean management, so.
Okay,
And-
I read a lean management. I know the state does a lean management courses, but I'm not really versed in the details of lean management. But yes, they'll be looking to see if we're efficient, where we can tighten up, where we can be more efficient. Give us a roadmap as we start to work on our strategic plan for the next couple of years.
Okay.
Alderman Govea.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. So I have a question. Page 2 of the contract says that it will not exceed $74,000, but yet we're holding a $26,000 contingency. Why would we do that?
Why would we do that? That's a great question. They did quote us 74, but we wanted to put we wanted to have something aside if there was an expense we didn't anticipate or an overrun. I don't have a specific what that could be, but we wanted to have a little bit of a cushion should something happen. Should something come up that they needed to spend some more money on.
Alderman Moran.
I'm just a no on consultants right now, so I'll be voting no against this.
Anyone else? All those in favor of the motion say aye. Aye. Nay?
Nay.
All right, well, the motion fails. Motion fails, sorry. Next communication from Amy Gerard Purchase. I've never had a total silence. It's been a lot of years.
Now we know you haven't been saying aye this entire time.
We're paying attention.
All right. God. A former alderman, Alex Como, he came in saying, I was looking for something to say no to, but I never found it. And I guess we've gotten there.
hit that point. We did it.
All right, sorry, Nancy, we'll think about a new approach. All right, so next communication from Amy Gerard, Purchasing Manager, Alderman Govea.
In regards to software subscription, Plixer One Core in the amount of $4,298.73, funded from General Fund 54 Property Services. Make a motion to accept, place on file, and award a multi-year contract for the continued operation of Plixer One Core software subscription with Plixer LLC in the amount of $4,298.73. Funding will be through Department 120 Technology Maintenance, Fund General Fund 54 Property Services.
Mr. Misevich.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Nick Misevich, Chief Information Officer for the City of Nashua. As mentioned, this software is a tool that IT uses to measure the bandwidth utilized between 2 points in the network. Bandwidth is the amount of network traffic that is utilized for each connection. We can get down to, you know, a single PC in the city that's acting not as it should, and we can see that with this software. And we could also isolate traffic from a PC to a particular website if we had to. And again, that allows us to see if we have a hot zone or if some device is chatting with the internet more than usual, which means that there's some sort of, maybe some sort of compromise.
So this is a network security measure.
Correct.
Any questions, comments? Dare I ask, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Thank you. Next communication from Amy Gerard, Purchasing Manager, Alderman Govea.
In regard to annual subscription for the enterprise agreement in the amount of $197,400 funded from General Fund 54 Property Services, I'm going to make a motion to accept, place on file, and approve a multi-year annual renewal enterprise software subscription with ESRI Incorporated in the amount of $197,400. That's $65,800 annually. Funding will be through Department 120 Technology Maintenance Fund, General Fund 54 Property Services.
All
Go
right.
ahead.
Yeah, I'm going to be here for a while, so get used to my face. This is for the continued use of the GIS software that the city currently utilizes through Esri. The reason why it is much more expensive this year than in previous years is Pennachuck is no longer splitting the cost with us 50-50. They are going out on their own and obtaining their own license.
All right, questions, comments? All those in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
Motion passes. Next communication from Amy Gerard, Purchasing Manager, Alderman Govea.
In regard to HPE Ultra Storage AFS4 expansion self-upgrade in the amount of $167,921.20, funded from General Fund and Capital Improvements, 81 Capital Outlay Improvements. I'm going to make a motion to accept, place on file, and approve a 36-month contract renewal for the continued operation of HPE Ultra Storage AFS4 expansion self-upgrade with Zintech in the amount of $167,921.20. Funding will be through Department 122 Information Technology Fund, General Fund 71 Equipment, 45,000 Capital Improvements, 81 Capital Outlay Improvements, $122,921.
All right, this is for actually hardware. The 36-month is the support from HP to support the corresponding hardware. And it is an expansion shelf onto the storage that we purchased to move away from what we are currently using. This will integrate with the DR site as well, and we will have data replication between the two sites. So if anything fails on the primary site, all the data will already be at the DR site. So it's a matter of, you know, spinning up the servers over there and connecting to the data. And during our testing, we've seen downtimes of only seconds as opposed to minutes or hours.
What is DR? What does that
The
stand for?
disaster recovery site.
Okay. All right, any questions or comments? All those in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Next communication from Amy Gerard, Purchasing Manager, Alderman Govea.
In regard to software subscription for Mimecast in the amount not to exceed $42,722.50, funded from General Fund 55 Other Services. I'm going to make a motion to accept, place on file, and approve a renewal contract for the continued operation of Mimecast subscription services through Zintech in the amount not to exceed $42,722.50, Funding will be through Department 120 Technology Maintenance Fund, General Fund 55, Other Services.
All right, this is the software that the city uses for our email filtering and spam guidance, as well as the corresponding archiving product. So it's actually 2 licenses in one.
All those in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Next communication from Amy Gerard, Purchasing Manager, Alderman Govea.
In regard to Windows service license for DR site in the amount of $56,393.92, funded from General Fund 54 Property Services. Make a motion to accept, place on file, and approve a one-time payment for Windows server licenses for DR site with Shy in the amount of $56,393.92. Funding will be through Department 120 Technology Maintenance Fund, General Fund 54 Property Services.
All right, so finally, my last one of the evening. This is for Phase 5 of the Disaster Recovery Project. Not sure if any of you were around at the initial outlay of this project, but this is the software component. This is to purchase the operating server licenses that we need to run Microsoft Windows at the DR site. So it's 2 licenses per host, because the licenses go by the number of cores in the server as opposed to the number of CPUs like it used to be. So Microsoft is getting on board with every other software vendor to basically get more money out of its customers.
Anyone? All those in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes.
Thank you.
Thanks, Nick. Next communication from Amy Gerard, Purchasing Manager, Alderman Govea.
In regard to Nashua downtown safe transportation for every pedestrian in the amount of $591,930, funded from NHDOT Grant 54 Property Services and Sewer Infrastructure Improvement FY 24-54 Property Services. I'm going to make a motion to accept, place on file, and award a construction contract for the Nashua Safe Transportation for every pedestrian project to William P. Davis Excavation LLC in the amount of $591,930. Funding will be through Department 160 Admin Engineering Fund, NHDOT Grant 54 Property Services, $570,344. Sewer Infrastructure Improvements FY 24-54 Property Services, $21,586.
Mr. Hudson?
Good evening, Dan Hudson, City Engineer. So this is a project that's been in the works for a long time. You may have heard me speak to it before. We've updated municipal agreements and that sort of thing along the way related to this project. But it is to improve pedestrian crossings in the downtown. It's 80% funded by the federal government through the NHDOT, so I'm sure that raises some questions, which I don't have answers to. To date, DOT on all our LPA projects, basically local project administrator projects, has encouraged us to keep moving. They've received no indication to date anyway that those are subject to any hiccups, but you know, who knows? I mean, we do work, we seek reimbursement on a monthly basis, so you know, at the most we'd be out a month of work probably. This being a small project, kind of isolated locations, I'm fairly comfortable with the risk the city would be taking on with the federal involvement. So with that, I'd be happy to address any questions.
I don't see anything. All those in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Nay.
Motion passes. Next communication from Amy Gerard, Purchasing Manager, Alderman Govea.
In regard to landfill gas header relocation construction services, change order number 2 in the amount of $70,150, funded from Bond 54 Property Services. I'm going to make a motion to accept, place on file, and approve change order number 2 to the landfill gas header relocation contract with SCS Field Services in the amount of $70,150. Funding will be through Department 168 Solid Waste Fund, Bond 54 Property Services.
Mr. LaFleur?
Yes, sir. Jeff LaFleur, Superintendent of Solid Waste. The company that's coming to do the project is SES. They had done our header relocation in the fall. They didn't get to complete it because of the weather break. So they're coming back to do a few connections. I'm taking this opportunity to save some money as a mobilization charge, to do some extra well raising and help to eliminate any emissions or odors from the landfill.
And this is the methane recovery system, right?
Yes, sir.
Anybody have questions or comments? All those in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Next communication from Amy Gerard, Purchasing Manager, Alderman Govea.
In regard to 2025 landfill setback barrier wall construction in the amount of $325,730, funded from Bond 54 Property Services. I'm going to make a motion to accept, place on file, and approve a contract with Character Contracting Company to continue construction for the residential setback barrier wall in the amount of $325,730. Funding will be through Department 168 Solid Waste, Fund Bond 54 Property Services.
Again, Jeff LaFleur, Superintendent of Solid Waste. This expansion that is needed so we have airspace to continue bringing trash in until our Phase 4 construction is underway and getting completed, so we can start putting trash into Phase 4. This should be our last expansion for the wall for a great amount of time until the Phase 4 landfill comes up to level where we are right now.
All those in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Next communication from Amy Gerard, Purchasing Manager, Alderman Govea.
In regard to change order number 1, Phase IV landfill construction in the amount of $823,780.28 funded from Bond 54 Property Services. I'm going to make a motion to accept, place on file, and approve change order number 1 with Charter Construction or contracting for added construction for Phase IV landfill in the amount of $823,780.28. Funding will be through Department 168 Solid Waste, Fund Bond Property 54 Property Services.
Jeff LaFleur, Superintendent of Solid Waste again. This actually happened because DES changed some new regulations with designing of landfills. They want to have 24 inches of cover across the whole base of the landfill. We were currently bidded out for only 6 inches as the old rule stated. So now I have to bring in 18 inches more of soil. So this is going to be the 18 inches of soil and removal of other soils from the base to keep our airspace optimum. So this is the change order basically due because of DES new regulations.
All those in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes.
Thank you.
Thank you. Next communication from Amy Gerard, Purchasing Manager, Alderman Govea.
Buckle up for this one. Update, standard specifications for sewers, drains, roadways, and sidewalk construction in the amount of $50,000 funded from infrastructure improvements, 53 professional and technical services, and stormwater management, 53 professional and technical services. I'm going to make a motion to accept, place on file, and approve the engineering services contract amendment with IMEG for professional services to update the BPW standard specifications for sewers and drains, road construction, and sidewalk construction in the amount of $50,000. Funding will be through Department 169 wastewater and 161 streets. Fund infrastructure improvements, 53 professional and technical services, $25,000. Stormwater management, 53 professional and technical services, $25,000.
Again, Dan Hudson, City Engineer. So our specifications for sewers, drains, road construction, sidewalk construction, those all date back to circa 1986, 1992, 1995, so they're long overdue for updates. Something that's been on DPW's list for a long time. Every winter comes around, we hope to get to it. We can't get to it because we're in the middle of bidding out projects. In the summer, we're doing construction, so we hired IMEG, who is Hayner Swanson. Most of you know Hayner Swanson, local engineering firm, was recently purchased by a national firm, IMEG. So it is a local engineering firm here. They started the work for us. We've had many discussions. We need to amend the contract to continue and hopefully complete that work. And I'd be happy to address any questions.
Alderman Clemmons.
At the end of this, is this going to require ordinance changes and things like that?
Good question. Yeah, yes, it will. We'll prepare these documents. We'll bring them forward to BPW for adoption, but also there'll be things in the ordinances that need to get amended. Some of the specific things, like we no longer allow asbestos pipe and things like that, right? That are in some of these older documents just need to be updated. So there'll be a few ordinance changes, but mostly it's specifications for how to construct things, what materials we allow, that sort of thing.
Okay.
All right, all those in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Next communication from Amy Gerard, Purchasing Manager, Alderman Govea.
In regard to engineering services for the 2025 CIPP sewer main lining project in the amount of $150,000, funded from Bond 53 Professional and Technical Services, make a motion to accept, place on file, and approve the construction engineering services contract for the 2025 CIPP sewer main lining project with Hayner Swanson Incorporated in the amount of $150,000. Funding will be through Department 169 Wastewater Fund Bond 53 Professional and Technical Services.
Again, Dan Hudson, City Engineer. So this is, we had bid out and awarded a number of projects. This is seeking engineering support with managing one of them. We just didn't bring that contract with the award of the construction contract. Engineering, we have limited staff. We have a couple pending retirements too this year that we're facing. So we need this outside consultant support, something we've been doing for years. This company will help us track and manage this lining work, make sure our GIS is updated, and make sure that we, review pay apps and things like that. This is lining many pipes throughout the city, so it's kind of a lot to keep up with. So we're seeking approval of this contract to help us with that. I'd be happy to address any questions.
Alderman Moran.
I would just say that I would support consultant contracts for infrastructure projects like this.
Oh, phew. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Anyone else? All right, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Next communication from Amy Gerard, Purchasing Manager, Alderman Govea.
In regard to amendment number 1, long-term management of biosolids in the amount of $1,093,176 funded from Wastewater Fund Property Services. I'm going to make a motion to accept, place on file, and approve amendment number 1 to the city contract with Resource Management Incorporated, RMI, for management of biosolids at the wastewater treatment facility in the amount of $1,093,176. Funding will be through Department 169 Wastewater Fund 54 Property Services.
Mr. Boucher, right?
Yes, thank you, Mayor. Dave Boucher, wastewater superintendent. This is to amend our 3-year contract with Resource Management Incorporated. This is the company that hauls our sludge. They haul it as a biosolid for beneficial reuse. They land apply it on farmlands throughout New Hampshire, permitted sites. This amendment is to extend the contract another year since we're at the end of our 3 years. I'd be happy to answer any questions.
All those in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Next communication from Amy Gerard, Purchasing Manager, Alderman Govea.
In regard to DW Highway and Spitbrook Road signal timing adjustments in the amount of $102,250 funded from Trust 55 Other Services, I'm going to make a motion to accept, place on file, and approve the DW Highway and Spitbrook signal timing adjustment engineering services contract with Vanassi, Hengen and Bernstill Incorporated, VHB, in the amount of $102,250. Funding will be through Department 160 Admin Engineering Fund Trust 55 Other Services.
Again, for the record, Dan Hudson, City Engineer. So this is a project we're excited about. This is retiming of the DW Highway Coordinated Traffic Signal System and Spitbrook Road as well. It's long overdue for a full assessment and retiming exercise. It was last done over 10 years ago. Beneficially, these funds are being withdrawn from the traffic corridor accounts. This is made recently possible through the Nash Casino and some off-site traffic mitigation contributions that they made to the city. So now that we have the funds in place, we're seeking to carry out this work. Be happy to address any questions.
Alderman Govea.
Just out of curiosity, what is the process of a signal timing adjustment?
Well, it's a lot of professional expertise time, basically. They have to gather all traffic counts. Some were done as part of that casino project, but also they can collect traffic data from the camera systems that we have at the intersections. So they look at all that data, crunch all the numbers, figure out what the best timing programs are for various times of day, and then go out and implement it in the field, actually. Go out in the traffic signal cabinet, in the controller program, those timing plans, make sure everything's talking to each other. So it's just a lot of time in the office and in the field by experts in the field.
Thank you.
Alderwoman Timmons.
Oh, thank you, Mayor. I'm always down that way. But going to Nash is a mess, okay? Also, going to Nash for bingo is a mess. That light that turns to the left, it stays on a couple of minutes, and so cars can't get through. So you have that long line of cars trying to take the left turn, and then you have the right turn, is that CBS on that corner? Yeah. Okay, when you go to CBS down that way, they can't get across. So would that fix all of that? Because I get a lot of complaints.
It's a great question. We do know that that's a problem location. That controller cabinet, we joke that it's haunted because it's right there next to the cemetery, but it's one of our oldest ones. It's in need of upgrade, which isn't currently programmed or planned. It has one of our oldest traffic camera systems, so the detection has been a little iffy there. So we have work to do in addition to the retiming. And one of the things that we will be, this retiming will help us do is they'll be in every cabinet. They'll help us assess these, various problems we've had over time and help us figure out what we need to do. We do have additional funds left in the corridor account, so we can bring that to bear. We have some of our fiber network. We've had mice get in and chew up the fibers. So like there's a whole host of issues out there, not all timing related, but as part of this timing work, we'll be able to work through some of those and address some of those, and hopefully we can improve conditions there.
Can I have one follow-up?
Yeah, sure.
I just want to know the time frame this is going to happen. Because I'm surprised there's no accidents. More accidents. There are accidents, but
these guys are ready to go. They're actually their team, this signal professional team. They have another project that they're doing right now for NHDOT. So they were excited that we came forward and said, okay, finally we have the money, we're ready to go. So they're ready to start as soon as we get this contract executed. So.
What did the Nash Casino contribute? How much did they?
Off the top of my head, I believe it was like $99,500, something on that order. Previously we had negotiated a similar thing with Costco, and that had been approved, and then unfortunately that kind of fell apart. The approval got reversed in the courts. So we were hoping to do this a couple years ago, but that didn't come to pass. But with this Nash Casino and that contribution, it made it possible.
Alderman Clemmons.
So is this at all coordinated with any of the lights in Kingsborough?
Good question. There's the one, not well beyond the state line. I'm not even sure we're coordinated with the one, right at that intersection, the main intersection at the mall there. So I don't know the answer to that question, unfortunately. I don't think it extends beyond state line, honestly.
Okay.
Alderman Moran.
Thank you. I just would say that living in that side of town, anything to help the traffic is needed, especially with the casino going in and then the other one in the Sheraton eventually. And there's probably nothing anyone can do other than the police about the BJ CVS. You can't stop people from just staying in the middle of the intersection because they want to get their gas. Because that's a nightmare. I almost got into a car accident.
That's a nightmare.
Yeah, last week, and I've heard many stories about it, so, but I'm glad
Yeah.
something's happening to help improve the traffic flow.
Yeah, I mean, I'm familiar with that. I've experienced the same thing, and we'll do what we can. Unfortunately, I think the traffic projections for BJ's were way underestimated. We've seen much more traffic there, I think, than what they have predicted, which has caused some problems that we didn't anticipate based upon the traffic studies that we had received. So, yeah, it's definitely an area that needs some improvement. We'll look at. Unfortunately, we can't widen the road there, do much there. It is a matter of trying to get people off DW Highway into the BJ's gas site as quickly as possible. I know when they first opened, it was a complete disaster, and it's gotten somewhat better by their active management, but it's probably time for them to look at that again and see what they can do better to try to address that situation.
Thank you.
Alderman Thibodeau.
Just for clarity of the full scope, so it's from like the Sheraton down to DW, and then how far of DW? Alderman Clemens asked about the mall side, but how far
Yeah.
towards the city?
It's essentially the full length. It's all the signals up to, the north end there where it merges back onto the turnpike. So it's the full length. All those signals. It's quite a large system. And there's still some intersections that we don't have camera systems on that we'd like to add over time, especially on Spitbrook Road. So we're continuing to work on that. We made some improvements at the Terra Boulevard Spitbrook intersection this last year through some paving. We added another through lane eastbound. So we're aware of the issues. It's a busy quarter. A lot of demand to go there, obviously, and the casino adds to that. But we've had good success with these retiming efforts previously. We think that can help. It's not the panacea, but certainly it will help, and so we're looking forward to doing that.
Yeah.
The 102,000 that's in here, does that include the money from the Nash, or that's the full scope is the 102?
Yeah, we took their money, put it in the traffic corridor pot, basically, that fund, which covers Spitbrook Road and DW Highway. Board of Public Works is agent to expend on those funds, so we went to them. They approved voting that money out, or withdrawing that money basically for this contract. So that's where the funding comes from.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Alderwoman Timmons.
Timmons, that's okay. I just have a follow-up question. Would they continue to contribute to this fund, or this is a one-time?
That was a one-time. There is other work that they're going to be doing. They're committed to doing some work at Zimmerman's, that intersection. Right now, Zimmerman's has an access, which is, that's not a great setup the way it is right now. So we've worked with them and Zimmerman's, but to modify that site access a little bit, make that better. They were also, we sent them to talk to Mass DOT about the intersection there in Massachusetts, and so they've done that. I'm not sure what's going to come out of that process. They may need to do some work there as well. So there are a few additional efforts that they're working on, but this was a one-time contribution to the fund, the Traffic Corridor Fund.
All right. All those in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Next communication from Amy Gerard, Purchasing Manager, Alderman Govea.
In regard to 2025 sewer replacement project, contract 2 in the amount of $1,577,329.88, funded from Bond 54 Property Services. I'm going to make a motion to accept, place on file, and award a construction contract for the 2025 sewer replacement project, contract 2 with Greason & Son Incorporated in the amount of $1,577,329.88. Funding will be through Department 169 Wastewater Fund Bond 54 Property Services.
Again, Dan Hudson, City Engineer. So we bid out 2 different sewer contracts this year. The first one was awarded to Crisp Contracting, a local contractor. The second one, Greason & Sons, was the low bidder. We'd received 3 bids. This is for miscellaneous sewer work around the city. Both of those are dig contracts. You've heard me talk about the lining versus the dig. Unfortunately, we still have dig work we need to do, so this will enable us to take care of some problem spots around the city, and I'd be happy to address any questions.
All those in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Next communication from Amy Gerard, Purchasing Manager, Alderman Govea.
In regard to 2025 pavement preservation program in the amount of $435,594, funded from Bond 81 Capital Outlay and Improvements, I'm going to make a motion to accept, place on file, and award a construction contract for the 2025 pavement preservation program with Seal Coating Incorporated, DBA Indus, in the amount of $435,594. Funding will be through Department 160 Admin Engineering, Fund Bond 81 Capital Outlay and Improvements.
So an important part of our paving program is to also, preserve streets, maintain streets that aren't ready for paving but are seeing some distresses. So this year we bid this project out. We hope to crack seal 37 miles of city streets. Sealing the cracks keeps the water out, which keeps them from freezing, and all sorts of bad things happen, potholing and stuff, when you get water in a road, especially during the winter season. So we bid this out. We only received the one bid from Indus, but we've worked with them for a number of years, so not necessarily a surprise. And this costing was in line with what we've seen previously, so we do recommend award to them.
Alderman Clemmons.
Yeah, I can attest that this is well worth our money. They first did this on Lund Road. How many years ago do you think it was?
I don't know.
5, 6,
Yeah.
6 years ago? It was right when we started doing this. And up until this winter, that road had, and this is in front of Bishop Girton, that road has held up. Now it's starting to finally, I think it's probably in need or will be needing repavement soon. But this definitely extended the life of that road. 100% did, and I can tell you just from driving it every day. So this is saving taxpayers a lot of money because it's keeping the roads intact and extending the life of the pavement. So this is worth every penny in my view.
Alderman Govea.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. So what is the long-term plan with this? How's this being incorporated with the paving plan to lengthen out how long we can go between paves?
It's a great question. So in the memo, we say extends a road service life for 1 to 3 years. That's really how long the crack sealing lasts, maybe a little bit longer if conditions are favorable. But you can keep reapplying that. You can keep, going back and resealing. If crack sealant's worn off or been disturbed, you can go back and reseal. So it's kind of a perpetual stay on a regular program, going to these roads that are still in good shape structurally, but have some cracking. Just keep going back, sealing them. And you do that, to Alderman's point, you save money, significant money. It's about 70 cents a square yard to do this crack sealing. It's on the order of $15 a square yard overlay. It's on the order of $35 to do a reclaim. So, as long as you can do this and keep the road shape proper, it's worth doing. We do a lot of the older roads that, they might even be 10, 15 years old, but they're still in fairly good shape. Crack seal them, you can get more years out of them. But then also the newer roads, 2 or 3 years after they've been paved, it's a good time to go back and look at them as well. And if any cracks have appeared, seal them then. Keep those good roads good, and try to keep your, fair roads fair as long as you can. Once they slide into poor condition, then you gotta pave them, then that's what you need to do. But over the long term, this is the appropriate method to save the taxpayers money and basically make your dollar go as far as it can in terms of paving.
Follow up on that?
Yeah.
Yeah, no objection to doing this at all. I think it is great. It's, I guess, how do we prioritize where this is going, and how much does $435,000 get us?
In this case, it gets us 37 miles, which
Okay.
the city has 310-ish miles. So 10, was that 10%?
pretty good.
I don't know, something like that. So a good portion of the city. And paving preservation, crack sealing, even other methods, it always needs to be part of what we're doing. I think as we complete this 10-year paving program, we're going to have to even prioritize more preservation than we have in the past. Favorably, road conditions have come up citywide. We're in a fairly good state. We're always going to need to pave. We're always going to need to preserve. But you want to, you want to shift, you might see this number increase over time, is what I'm saying, relative to paving, just to keep the preservation going as long as we can.
And what was the amount for crack sealing per square yard? You gave that.
Deputy City Engineer Saunders gave me a price of 70 cents per square yard. It's not, I mean, that doesn't mean a square yard of the actual crack sealant.
Yeah,
It's
but
just
of-
like,
of
when we
pavement.
bid this out, we say, you go do this street, and they give us a price for the whole street after them looking at it. And it kind of averages out 70 cents a square yard for a roadway.
And you're saying that paving is $70 per square yard?
Paving's, milling and paving is on the order of, I think you said $15
Oh,
or more,
15.
$17, something like that. Reclaiming was $35. That's where you actually grind up all the pavement and regrade it, repave it. So
So this is
very cost effective to do this method.
1/20th of the cost of paving?
Yes, on a recurring basis, right?
That's pretty good.
Yeah,
Oh,
every road degrades. Cracks are one thing, but there's other factors. So no road lasts forever, and it's all dependent on what
I
type
don't know,
of
those
traffic it
Roman
sees.
roads are still there, so.
It all depends on what
You never
kind of
know.
traffic it sees. On some of the neighborhood roads, we can get 25 years out of those if it's light traffic, not a lot of trucking. Arterial roads, you're more on the order of, a dozen years. So we look at all the roads on at least every 3 years, we've looked at every road to try to keep on top of what treatment is appropriate where. But this is definitely appropriate treatment for where it's warranted.
Alderman Govea.
Yeah, I think this makes sense, and I would encourage we kind of increase this as we wrap up that paving project, just because paving is very expensive, and this is a nicer alternative that can help us get in between doing another paving program. So definitely get the most out of what we're paying for.
Anyone else? All those in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Next, communication from Amy Gerard, Purchasing Manager, Alderman Govea.
In regard to change order 8 for the 2023 sewer rehabilitation program, contract 3, in the amount of $466,966.82, funding from Bond 81 Capital Outlay and Improvement. I'm going to make a motion to accept, place on file, and approve change order 8 to the 2023 sewer rehabilitation program, contract 3, with RWC Enterprises in the amount of $466,966.82. Funding will be through Department 169 Wastewater Fund Bond 81 Capital Outlay and Improvements.
So this is another contract with a local contractor, RWC Enterprises. We originally awarded this contract back in 2023. We've amended it, or change ordered it a number of times. This will be change order number 8. We keep, adding work, to keep completing work. Still pricing within the purchasing policy in terms of how much change has been since the original bid. So we again would like to expand their work this year, giving us another contractor to do work around the city. Be happy to address any questions.
Alderman Govea.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. And you just kind of briefly brushed on it, but the project at a 10,000-foot level is still within budget?
Yeah, I mean, all this funding comes from our annual sewer bonding and that sort of thing. So, we have an amount of money. We want to put that into good use in the city. So this would allow us to have this contractor remain on board in addition to the 2 additional ones that we contracted under those other contracts this year.
Great. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Alderman Thibodeau.
In the original motion, it says 466,966, and then in the table, it says 350,000 for change order number 8.
Yeah, I would ignore what it says in the table and go what's in the motion. We went to Board of Public Works. I'd have to review the details of that. Let me see, I'm looking at a backup spreadsheet for finance, which says 466,966.82. Is that what yours says? So, I'll have to review. I don't know if we'll need to return to Board of Public Works with this or not. I'll have to see where that falls, but the number we are seeking is the 466 you mentioned.
All those in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
Motion, opposed? Motion passes.
Thank you.
Next, communication from Amy Gerard, Purchasing Manager, Alderman Govea.
in regard to wet weather bar screen repairs in the amount of $144,504.54, funded from wastewater fund 81 capital outlay and improvements. I'm going to make a motion to accept, place on file, and approve the rebuilding of the wet weather bar screens with Huber Technology in the amount of $144,504.54. Funding will be through Department 169 Wastewater Fund, 81 capital outlay and improvement.
And I think we're back to Mr. Boucher.
Thank you, Mayor. Dave Boucher, wastewater superintendent. The wastewater facility has a weather facility within it. It has 2 mechanical bar screens. It's a large piece of equipment that removes heavy material out of the wastewater stream to protect the equipment downstream. This equipment is currently operational, however, both of them received heavy damage during a January rainstorm. So this is to purchase the parts to restore this equipment back to its factory specifications. Also includes technical assistance from the Huber company also. I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Anyone? All those in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Thank you very much. Now on to new business resolutions, R25-138. Alderman Govea.
Authorizing a subordination agreement regarding subordinating city debt pursuant to a refinancing by Clock Tower Housing Associates, a limited partnership. I'm going to make a motion to recommend final passage.
And we have Attorney Perlman here on this.
Mr. Mayor, members of the committee, good evening. My name is Andy Perlman, attorney with Pruner & Perlman and longtime counsel to the Clock Tower Place housing project. Clock Tower last refinanced its debt back in 2017, and we have 2 things going on. Those notes are coming due this summer, and we desperately need a brand new boiler. We have a 30-year-old boiler in Clock Tower, so part of our refinancing effort is going to, we're going to take about roughly $1 million out to have a boiler installed, and we have to do that. We have to line this up now because you have to install the boiler during the summer season before we have to turn the heat back on in the fall. And so what we're asking is that the debt that the city holds on Clock Tower Place, which was originally a grant from HUD, a $10.9 million grant back in 1989 to help build out the Clock Tower Place apartments, Clock Tower 2. The city has that debt. That debt is currently behind, in second position, behind the existing lender, M&T Realty Capital Corporation. And M&T Realty Capital Corporation is willing to refinance the debt again this summer, provided the city resubordinate the $10.9 million mortgage that it holds on the Clock Tower Place. Currently, the city's mortgage is behind a $14,175,000 mortgage in first position, and we are asking the city to resubordinate behind a new mortgage of $14,252, a $77,000 difference. That's my quick version of the request, and we are seeking a positive recommendation back to the Board of Aldermen, and I can go into a lot more detail if the committee has any questions.
I think Clock Tower has 30% affordable units, or 30% off-market units, right?
That's absolutely correct. So just a quick explanation. Clock Tower is comprised of there are 2 pieces of the puzzle of Clock Tower, both owned by the same underlying general partner of the 2 partnerships. Clock Tower 1 came online in the mid-1980s. I actually lived there for a year when I came back from law school. And that is the portion of the mills that's closest to Main Street, and that's owned by a limited partnership called National Plaza Housing Associates Limited Partnership, and there are 143 units in that portion. That's Clock Tower 1, and 29 of those are affordable. Clock Tower 2 is the rest of the building as it moves its way back toward the Picker Building and back to the Veterans Memorial Parkway, and that has 183 apartments, 55 of which are affordable. So the original HUD grant back in 1989 required those percentages, 30% to be affordable. And even though the time period for that requirement lapsed, the underlying owner of the project, Ed Bryce, last time we did the financing, agreed to continue the affordability component. He's a big proponent of maintaining the affordability component, so that's still going on today, and it's going to go on for as far as we know.
Alderman Clemmons.
Yeah, just from a standpoint of the city, there's very little risk for the city here. This is a definite thing I would support 100%.
Alderman Govea.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I have a question more for you. And I mean, I'm just confused by the legislation as is. What is the benefit to the city for passing it? And what happens if we don't?
Well, I think the benefit is we continue to see Clock Tower operated as a 30% affordable project.
So if we didn't do it, they could move?
Well, they could. You could just, you don't have a legal obligation anymore, do you?
No, we don't, but again, the underlying owner, last time we did this refinancing in 2017, he committed to that additional time to have the affordable piece. And so that will continue. Remember, the underlying debt that the city holds was never city taxpayer money that went out. It was a HUD grant that was then given to Clock Tower in exchange for a mortgage and a promissory note. I will tell you, if the city were to say no, I'm not quite sure what would happen. Some very bad things would happen. The bank ultimately would foreclose, the city's debt would be wiped out, and now there would be absolutely no obligation for affordable, and some other owner would come along and hike up the rents, and just it'd be not good for Clock Tower or the city.
Alderman Clemmons.
Yeah, I mean, the reason I said that there's no risk here is because essentially, first of all, the banks the first part of this, the bank's taking on the risk of that mortgage, right? And then secondly, though, there's probably enough equity in there, and even if there wasn't enough equity in there, if we didn't get paid on that, we would just if they haven't paid their property taxes, we would just take the building anyway. So there's really no risk from that standpoint from the city side. There's no reason not to do this. Not doing it, however, would absolutely be disastrous for the people that live there, and it would, basically this project wouldn't be able to go forward. They'd have to figure out another way to do that, and I just don't think that's in anyone's best interest.
And the point that Mr. Pullman is making is that although the city holds technically a loan, there was not a dollar of city money that went into this. So we got a HODAG grant, and the condition of the grant was that the city would be given a debt obligation, basically, to compensate for the grant money that was coming from the federal government. So we're not really, I mean, whatever we have, it was just a gift. So we are simply extending your obligation, Clock Tower's obligation, to repay something that we never really loaned to begin with. But so I think that's part of the point.
That's absolutely correct.
Okay, that makes a lot more sense. Thank you.
I don't know how many people remember Senator Rudman.
Yeah.
Ben.
Mm-hmm.
Andy does.
Sure.
He was the one who got this, basically. And it was a interesting process that I could describe, but I won't do it right now. But it had to do with the New Hampshire, it had to do with his Senate reelection. Anyway, all right. Any other questions or comments? All those in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. All right, new business ordinances, we have none. Tabled in committee.
Motion to take this off, so.
Okay, take which off? The,
Take off I'll just make the motion. I move to remove from the table memo 25-131.
Okay, having to do with the lead paint.
Yes.
All right, motion is to take this next item from the table. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. So we have now before us a communication from Amy Gerard, Purchasing Manager, Alderman Govea.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I move to accept, place on file, and award a contract for lead paint and healthy homes remediation with Alchemy Lead Management in the amount not to exceed $584,370. Funding will be through Department 184 Urban Programs, Fund HUD Lead Hazard Reduction and Healthy Homes Grant 54 Property Services.
Mr. Sullivan?
Good evening, committee members. Matt Sullivan, Community Development Division Director, here on behalf of the $584,370 request to enter into a contract with Alchemy Lead Management for lead inspection, risk assessment, and clearance services as part of the city's recently received $7.7 million lead grant. Specifically, the services contemplated here are the services of actually going into units that we perceive to be lead contaminated, performing testing, ultimately doing what's called a risk assessment under state law, and then, of course, after the remediation work is completed, actually issuing a clearance report for the lead work that's completed within the units. As a reminder, we contemplate about 230 units to be remediated as part of this. Approximately 240 will be inspected, and Alchemy will be responsible for each of these. We have a long-standing relationship with Alchemy Lead Management, and so we're confident they have the ability to provide these services, but happy to answer any questions that the committee might have. I'll add just one quick comment. Similarly to other federal programs, there may be some questions about whether or not these monies are guaranteed. We do have language about fiscal contingency within the standard contract that's associated with this. So in the event that we were to suddenly lose our lead funding for some reason or another, we would be able to cease this contract and terminate it with Alchemy, as funds would not be available. But happy to answer any other questions that the committee might have.
Alderman Clemmons.
Yeah, so my question was along those lines. So we do not have the $7 million grant that we received, I believe it was the end of last year, right?
Correct.
We don't have that money in-house.
To answer Alderman Clemmons' question, the HUD lead grant is done on a drawdown-based process. And so essentially we only draw as we expend. And so every month or 2 weeks, depending upon how much work we're doing, we issue a drawdown request to the federal government and get reimbursed. To date, we haven't done any unit work, so we've only been drawing down salary monies. We've had no issue doing that, which has been very encouraging. But we will not be awarded all the funds until the last month or the last day of the grant, if all goes well.
Okay.
Anyone else? All those in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Nay.
Motion passes.
Thank you.
Thank you. Record of expenditures, Alderman Govea.
I move that the Finance Committee has compiled with the city charter and ordinances pertaining to the record of expenditures for the period of March 14, 2025 to March 27, 2025.
All those in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. General discussion. I learned today that among other grants that may be canceled or that have already been canceled, one has to do with, or a group of them have to do with the public safety services. So the police and fire departments operates a number of specialty units, SWAT team, bomb team, those are police. The fire department has the hazmat team, and there is the dive team. The personnel for these, and these are regional services, so that if there's a bomb and there are only two bomb squads in New Hampshire State Police in Nashua. So were there a bomb threat in, Hudson or something, Nashua would probably be sent over there. So they serve other communities. Same with hazmat, SWAT team as well, I think. So the federal government over many years has funded the equipment that these specialty teams use. For example, the bomb team has robots that they send in, you know, to check things out. You might have seen that on the Hurt Locker or something, that kind of thing, actually. SWAT actually, you know, obviously has weapons and things like that. They are not going, but personnel have been funded locally. But the cost of the equipment, which can be considerable, has been handled by the federal government, I think through FEMA. And Emily Marticello, the emergency management director, could provide more detail. So these grants will not be continued, and the equipment will no longer be paid for by the federal government. And notice of that has just been received very recently. Alderman Clemens.
How much money are we talking, if even, I know you probably don't have an exact figure, but ballpark, is all of this on an annual basis, would you say?
Well, let's get Emily, but
Okay.
a lot. I mean, it may not, when there's a purchase, it can be an expensive, something really expensive. The stuff is not cheap, you know, like a armored vehicle and stuff like this. I mean, this isn't, you know, or these robots, these are not inexpensive items.
Well, I guess my question.
I don't know, you might know, what do you think, like the hazmat unit has special equipment. The hazmat, of course, deals with chemical releases and stuff like that, chemical fires. Alderman Clemens.
So, yeah, I would really like to have this conversation particularly because obviously the budget's coming up, but I would imagine that the New Hampshire equivalent of these services are probably also facing the same.
Yeah, I think everyone's facing the same thing.
So my question is, can we get through next year? Are these things going to be included in the budget because we have enough equipment to at least get us through one more year to?
We do, yeah.
You
It's
know.
not like this is going to, you know, require immediate expenditure, but I think it would be helpful to, Emily is very on top of this, Emily Marticello. So if you wanted more detail, I think she could come in and give you everything you could ask. Alderman Clemens.
Yeah, I think we all would appreciate an update on that, but I can just tell you, again, this is another example of one of the major disappointments of this administration. Again, coming down and affecting not only this time Nashua, but all of, and it's safety. I mean, this is public safety, right?
Yeah.
Yes.
This is a bomb squad, this is a SWAT team, these are things that people count on. They're not things that you see every day, but they're things that we count on to be there when we need them to be there. And here we are, you know, they say, oh, we're making America safe again. Well, are we? Are we though? Because if we don't have these services, and these services these teams don't have the equipment that they need, then how safe are we? I appreciate you bringing it up, Mayor, because I think these things need to get out there. The public needs to know, and they need to know how it affects them as a citizen of this city, and it affects them. These changes are affecting people, and they're going to affect you. When a loved one falls through the ice, you hope that dive team is there. And if they're not there, that's going to be something that we all regret, and it's coming from the top, and it's a shame.
Alderman Moran.
I'll be more direct. It's amateur hour at the federal government. We have guys who peaked in high school who are in charge of the Defense Department having drunk texts with reporters about bombing Yemen. So it's disappointing that they're not just taxing us with tariffs, they're also cutting spending. It's supposed to be cutting and cutting when they're in charge, not taxing and cutting. It's the opposite. It doesn't make sense. Like, I'm a tax and spend kind of guy. That's great. That's the path I chose. But this whole tax and cut doesn't make sense to me. And then on top of it, you know, we have at the state level, we have chairman in charge of the budget and budget members cutting the Department of Corrections without even talking to the Department of Corrections or the governor, from what I was told. And they're making drastic cuts to even the governor's budget, which is insanity. But I think elections will prove that their tactics are wrong.
Any rebuttal? No, no, I'm just joking. All right, we'll have Emily come in. Maybe
you.
I'll talk to President Wilshire, either to the full board or back to the committee, whatever she desires on that. We did, any other general discussion? Public comment. Any member of the public wish to speak to the committee? There's no one here, unless Amy wants to talk. She's not that talkative, so I don't think so. Remarks by Alderman? Alderman Timmons.
Yes, thank you, Mayor. It's a shame that's what's happening to this country is pretty bad, and I'm just sitting back watching and getting disgusted by the minute, the day, the hour. It's just horrible, and FAFO, you know what that means? So these people voted for what they got, and it's unfortunately, I lived to see it. I'm 73 years old, and I thought I had it rough, but I don't know now. So those who passed before me, I was like, well, you're lucky you didn't live around. I thought it was really bad, and before it's really, really bad. And it's really bad for people other than white men. Bottom line.
No offense taken.
Okay,
No,
good,
no,
because
none
if
taken.
you're a white man, you're okay. But anybody else, women and everybody else under, and that DEI wasn't just for people of color, it was for women too, LGBTQ, veteran, I'm a veteran, I can't believe my brother died for this country, and probably rolling in his grave. Probably rolling in his grave. It's just horrible. And it's just bad. And I know right now I feel a little safe until they get rid of all the immigrants, which should be all of y'all too, by the way. But when they get rid of all the immigrants, it's coming from me, and it's coming from you, and it's coming from you. If you don't look like the white man that wants you guys to have a bunch of white babies, because that's the key to make the country white again. This country is not the country I was born into. And then we got an immigrant that's running this country. And we have a president that have an immigrant wife and a vice president with an immigrant wife, but yet they're looking at all the other immigrants in the country and not looking at themselves. It's just crazy. It's just really, really crazy. And I don't know about your first lady. Your first lady, you notice I didn't say my first lady, is an immigrant. It's an immigrant who had an anchor baby. We should be looking at them. We got Elon Musk running the country, slashing jobs that he doesn't know anything, haven't served in the military, that's for sure. And it's just bad. It's just really, really bad. And too bad. Fortunately, the blue states didn't do it, but those red states, I don't feel sorry for you. I kind of, I see you online crying about, I didn't know. You did know. You had a chance to do something. On November the 5th, you did absolutely nothing. And then we got what we got. So I just have to say that is, if you're a white man, you might be a little safe, depending on your, certain things. But everybody else is in trouble. So.
All right, Alderman Moran.
Just not as poignant as that, but I will agree there are needs for cuts in the grants, and there's waste, fraud, and abuse, but to be found, but not this way whatsoever. And I gave the governor an example of things that I've seen, but it's like a scalpel that should be managing these issues, and they're very rare, but there's ways to address them, not the way it's happening. It's like a sledgehammer, and it's very
And the-
disruptive to stability for many people's household incomes and stability.
May I just say one other thing? All the fraud and abuse that they said was out there, they haven't proved it. I haven't seen anything. Show me some fraud and abuse. Just show me, other than what you're taking from the government, show me some fraud and abuse. I don't think that's the case. We got the billionaires ripping off all the little guys, and I don't see any evidence of fraud or abuse. So only the things that you say is out there, but there's no proof. Show me something. And don't tell me somebody 200 years old collecting Social Security. Show me that proof. There's no proof. It's just that they just say these things and people buy into it. And this is what you get. You buy it. There's a lot of fraud and abuse, but nobody can show you the fraud or abuse. Just show me one. I just want to see one. I don't even see that. So.
All right, any other aldermanic comments? If not, I will look to Alderman Clemmons.
Motion to adjourn.
All those in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. And the meeting of the Finance Committee is adjourned at 8:30.